Hello and welcome to the 72nd episode of the Rockies Now podcast. My name is Steven. Right with me is my co-host Tom and Adam with me, and we have a special guest on today's episode of the podcast. We have Jack from the Playoff Push podcast. Jack, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? It's an honor to be on.
Yeah, man, it's been great, and you reached out to us and was interested in coming on our pod. And hey, I mean, we're growing the pod, we're growing Rockies Now, and we were like, hey, man, let's talk baseball. So here we are, and I know a lot of Rockies fans out there. I know a few of them actually kind of like the Yankees, and we're rooting for you guys in the World Series this past year. So, including Adam. Man, like talk about your year for the Yankees, man, and before we do that, talk about the Yankees season. If you want to get to know Jack a little bit, go follow him on Instagram at Playoff Push Podcast. He does a bunch of crazy podcasts. He's talked to Dan O'Dowd, former Rockies GM.
I was wondering if you saw that. Yeah,
I saw that. It was a good episode, man. And then you talked to was it Bob Nightingale, the big
Nightingale was a good episode. Yeah, he's a great guy. I was talking a lot to him about like the ballot this year. Mm-hmm. It was he got his ballot right. I will say he did say it was going to be Ichiro, Sabathia, and Wagner. That's what he said. So shout out Bob Nightingale on that one.
Yeah, nailed it. So again, check him out on Instagram. Good follow. So again, Jack, so talk about the Yankees season this past year. I mean, you had Juan Soto, and you had high expectations, a team that was a World Series favorite, and they finally went to the World Series, and they played against the Dodgers. And so why don't you share your thoughts on that?
I'll be honest, I thought this was a really good team. But heading into the playoffs, if you listen to my playoff look in earlier before the playoffs, I really didn't think this team was going to go far. I thought we were far too inconsistent at the plate. But of course, we did end up making it to the World Series. I thought it was because of Verdugo. We weren't going to make it. I thought Verdugo was going to hold us back in the outfield. Just an inconsistent bat. But Soto and especially Stanton stepped up so hard. And this was the best Yankees year I've probably seen in my lifetime, either this or 2017. I still think we got robbed in 17, but this was, Judge MVP, Soto, who is now gone, but he had an MVP caliber year if it wasn't for Judge. Volpe finally took a step up. I mean, this was as good as it possibly could have gotten. The bullpen was going well. Luke Weaver was shut down for the second half of the year. The rotation wasn't awful. I mean, it was all right. But this was a team that makes me super hopeful for the future, especially with our new moves we made this offseason.
Yeah. I thought that you had a great year, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to replicate that now with Soto out, but it's still, I still think that you guys still have a very good, solid squad that could definitely go back to the World Series. And I did like the addition of Paul Goldschmidt in there. I know he's getting older, but I still like that addition. And now you got Max Fried, which is arguably the best left-handed pitcher on the market. And I think that guy could be nasty. The contract, maybe not my favorite, but I still think he's going to do pretty darn well for you guys. So I want to talk about, since we're a Rockies podcast, I want to talk about some former Rockies that happen to currently play and played for your New York Yankees. And let's start off with the first player that comes to my mind, and that's DJ LeMahieu, because I remember as Rockies fans, we were so disappointed that the Rockies let him go after the 2018 season, after went back to the playoffs for the second straight year. And there was conversations that the Rockies might bring him back, but then the Rockies let him go. Also, Adam Ottavino. So when he came to the Yankees, what was your reaction? Because if I remember correctly, DJ was a runner-up for MVP in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I think he was third.
Okay.
But close enough. I think it went Abreu, Ramirez, and then LeMahieu, if I remember properly.
That's correct. I can tell you from being a White Sox fan, it was Abreu, Ramirez, LeMahieu. So yeah.
Hey, that's happy. I like that. Yeah, I mean, DJ is a great ball player. And when it comes to me, I'm a New York fan through and through. I'm Yankees, Giants, Knicks. But in every sport, I have maybe a smaller market team that I consider to be my second team. And it's the Rockies for MLB. It's the Ravens for NFL. And for the NBA, it really depends on the year. But a lot of times it ends up being the Nuggets just because they're just a fun team to watch. I really do enjoy watching Colorado sports. Something about it, I don't know. But when LeMahieu came over to us, I watched him as a Rocky, watched his batting average go up and up and up. I think it eclipsed 340 in 2016, won the batting title. And then he came over to us, and he had, probably 320, 330 in his first year, I think 64 in 2020, if I remember properly.
Mhm.
And then he just fell off a cliff. But when DJ came in, I was super excited. He was coming off some of the best years he possibly had, a bit of a down year in 2018, but then he came back, put it right back up. And he was just one of those guys who I always saw potential in, even, in 2014 and 2015. And he was a guy who I thought could last much longer than he did, because after that 2020 year, things just haven't been going his way.
Mhm. Yeah, injuries, a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it still pains me. Even though now it hurts a little bit less since now we have a future second baseman in Amador. But I don't know, man. If we would have had DJ in 2019, I feel like we would have had a much better year than we did. I think we went 72-90 that year. And yet we had Arenado, Story, Blackman at their peaks, and we were a bad team. Let's be honest. But I think another one that hurt even more than DJ was Adam Ottavino, because you look back at the Rockies 2019 season, our bullpen was just horrible. Not only that, but injuries. We had to call up guys from, AAA, AA, and then we signed, guys from somewhere international leagues. And I'm trying to remember his name, but he started for us, and I think a lot of people liked him. I forget his name, but yeah, we had a bunch of people that just came out of nowhere and honestly didn't do very well. But yeah, Adam Ottavino, he was one of those guys that just was a pillar in that bullpen. And once he left, it kind of collapsed. And ever since 2019, the Rockies bullpen has not been good. Other than this past year, I thought it was pretty decent, especially with some of the younger players. But yeah, man, it's been disappointing. And another former Rocky that maybe not a lot of people talk about enough is Mike Tauchman, because we had him in 2018, and we traded him, I believe, for Philip Deal, who I actually met at Coors Field in 2019. And Philip Deal was a Yankees prospect, and unfortunately, he hasn't been able to find any footing in the big leagues. But what were your thoughts on Mike Tauchman as a Yankee? Because I feel like that kind of revived his career, unfortunately, because that's what happens whenever the Rockies trade a player away. They revive their careers.
In the cases of both Ottavino and Tauchman, they will both have soft spots. There we go. In my heart. I mean, Tauchman came in and he wasn't really a good ball player, to say the least. He really did not do anything in Colorado. And then he comes in and has a breakout year in 2019. I think he had over maybe 15 homers, had a good OPS. And he was one of the reasons why we were able to make the run we did in 2019. Still, it was a ruthless way that we lost in the championship series to Houston once again, who would end up losing to Washington. But Tauchman just was that guy who you want like a spark plug off the bench. A good comparison in the NBA is Campaign. Like, I think of him as a Campaign comparison for the MLB. And he was just, a fun locker room guy. I saw him in the dugout, messing around with DJ or anyone else he so wanted to talk to. But Tauchman was a guy who was a good fielder, a very good fielder, and also was able to supply some power off the bench. He wasn't an everyday starter per se. I don't even know if he eclipsed 300 at bats in his peak year with us, but he was a great ball player to have as just a guy to improve your team, even if not purely statistically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To add to a couple other names to this conversation about, it's kind of ironic. Pitcher the Yankees just lost, Tommy Kahnle, who, again, solid relief pitcher. He actually pitched for the Rockies in 2014, 2015,
yes, he did.
For the White Sox in 2016. And then so kind of a bit of around the horn with some of the teams that are involved in this conversation. And but here's an interesting one that a lot of Rockies fans don't recall. He played for the Yankees. That's Jason Giambi, but people forget after the Yankees, he came to Colorado, which I even forgot about that until I looked that up a little bit ago.
There's so many random guys that, played for both of our teams. I think Mark Reynolds, I think LaTroy Hawkins played a few games for each of us.
Tulowitzki.
Tony Womack, Tulowitzki. I mean, there's like a lot of guys that just like overlapped. Todd Zeal, I think, played for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Just
he played for everybody.
He did play for everybody, to be fair.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny when people talk about roster turnover. It turns over whether it's a not so well known name or a well known name. It's just a turnover. That's baseball for you. But here's one question. Here's a funny little thing I saw before we started here. When it comes to which player would you prefer in their prime, Derek Jeter or Jimmy Rollins?
Oh, Jeter. That's not a question to me.
Okay.
I will tell you. I will be the first to tell you. I think Jimmy Rollins is extremely overrated, and that's just me. Because my friend was saying, "Oh, Rollins should be a first ballot Hall of Famer." First off, you're delusional. Second off, I pulled up Rollins stats, and you want to know who I pulled up side by side and who my friend picked over Rollins?
Okay.
A little guy by the name of Brian Giles. Brian Giles wipes
Padre?
the floor.
San Diego Padre?
Yes. Brian Giles wipes the floor with Rollins in practically everything except steals. He got knocked off in the first ballot. Rollins didn't. I think it's pure favoritism for Rollins. I don't think his statistics are all that impressive.
Yeah.
Plus, that 2007 MVP was the biggest robbery in terms of there was 6 players I would put over Rollins, including I think Matt Holliday.
Matt Holliday.
Was runner up, yeah.
And just for the listeners, the reason I bring that question up is Jack, you're a Philadelphia kid, so I want to. So it's just kind of a little tip.
Jeter's better. Jeter is better, and there's no debate with that.
In terms of Hall of Fame, in terms of Hall of Fame, Jimmy, you could put in the Hall of Fame of good, or maybe borderline bottom, of very good borderline. But no, I'm just saying in their prime, sometimes Jimmy Rollins has maybe a small case, but you're not right. I just thought I'd ask that question.
I think Rollins should be the last of the 3 to get in if they do. I think you should go Utley, Hamels, and then Rollins.
I was a huge Chase Utley fan. It's funny people talk about Jimmy so much because, again, the MVP, but I think Utley's contributions were overlooked at times.
Utley was a great ball player. I mean, may not be, the fan favorite due to some events that occurred, but he was one heck of a ball player.
He had a long career too.
Yeah,
he did. He had that stint with LA at the end.
Yeah, I just don't like the 2015 slide. That just made me.
Yeah, that's always going to leave a sour taste.
Yeah,
but
he was just one of those dudes, but still, he had his tail on fire whenever he played. So gotta respect.
He had
him.
5 straight years where he was top in got MVP votes. I think from 05 to 09, he got MVP votes every year.
But I will say this: in the offseason for the 2009 season, when Sabathia and Teixeira came to the Yankees, I said Yankees are winning. I told both my brothers, the Yankees are winning the World Series. I called that one, and sure enough, in my college dorm, later that October, I watched every game of that World Series because I wanted to see what comes true. And I would say it is interesting. It is good that A-Rod actually did show up in the World Series that year.
Yes.
Because typically he was labeled Mr. Not October.
No, exactly. He was as opposite of that as you could get. And I don't even think he, did the greatest stuff with the Yankees in the playoffs, but he was really able to turn up in 09, and he was a large reason as to why we won. Of course, Jeter is, one of, if not the greatest postseason hitter ever. But that team was everything that we needed to have this year that we didn't. Believe it or not, in this previous World Series, 2024, the Dodgers scored 25 runs, and we scored 24, and we lost 4 games to 1.
Timing of the runs you scored is more critical than you think.
Yeah. In the one game we won, I think we won by 6, and then we lost all the other games by 1 or 2. Yeah.
The last comment I make before I pass over to Adam about the Yankees offseason, even though you lost Soto, that takes away quite a bit of offense. I will say I am intrigued to see how the additions, because it did a pivot. Instead of adding to their offense, they added to their defense, i.e. added to the pitching. So I will say, now granted, I'm not taking away the additions of Bellinger and Goldschmidt, obviously, but there's a bit more question marks around those 2 Goldschmidt's aids, Bellinger's lack of performance over the last several years. But I got to say, I am very intrigued to see how you're going to have 2 guys, 2 lefties who are very opposite of each other in rotation, Rodon being a power arm, Fried being a little bit more of a finesse arm. And then Devin Williams in New York, I am very intrigued to see how that works out.
Devin Williams is disgusting, man. And one of my best friends, Michael, he is a huge Wisconsin sports fan. He's Brewers, Packers, and Bucks. And so when we got Devin Williams, the only thing I texted him was, "I'm sorry." That was it. That was all I texted him. And he responded saying, what? And I sent him the screenshot, and I cannot say what he responded on live. But, I mean, Devin Williams is one of the best relievers in the league, if not the best.
No
I would still
doubt.
go Class A, but he's definitely up there. The airbender pitch is literally unfair, and I can't wait to see how it moves in Yankee Stadium.
That changeup is one of the best I've ever seen.
It's unreal. It is unreal. It's like a Gagne type thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just I know a lot of Mets fans are pretty happy that they're gonna have a crosstown guy because again, Pete Alonso got a home run off of him in the NLDS.
Yeah, I did see that swing.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I think he's gonna do well for you guys. I mean, again, I'm curious to see how the Yankees are gonna do. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see again if the Yankees are gonna be able to win without Soto. They will. They will. The Yankees. I feel like they've gotten better, to be honest with you. It's just, it's kind of reminds me a little bit of Moneyball. I know it's Juan Soto. I understand that, but it's just like that scene where they're trading away all these players, and it's just all about wins, right? Getting those wins. And I think the Yankees, they're doing something that I think a lot of people we're kind of surprised about. I think the Yankees were, of course, wanting to bring him back, but now it's just like I feel like they have something up their sleeve. Brian Cashman is a pretty good genius GM, and he's one of the best in the business. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of an offseason, to be honest with you. But yeah, I do have another question, and if
totally.
If Adam has a question after me, he can do that. And I think we do have a couple more for you. But when did you become a Yankees fan, or how did you become a Yankees fan? Was it just living in the area of New York, or was it living out east? Or
all right. So I've been near Philly my whole life. I've been within 30 minutes to 45 minutes from Philadelphia every second I've been alive. But my dad is from right outside the Bronx, and my mom is from North Jersey. And so, when I was growing up, I wasn't really into sports. I played, soccer and t-ball and all that, but I despised it. And then I think it was third grade, my same friend, Michael, the Brewers fan I was telling you about earlier, gave me an Andrew McCutchen 2012 opening day card. I have it up there. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And that was 2014. And, my first real season I watched was 2015. I watched KC win it all. And from there, I was locked in because my dad said, if you become a Philadelphia fan, you're getting disowned. So I'm playing. But no, I mean, he raised me as a New York fan, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Sometimes it's sad when the Eagles win it, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love these guys.
Yeah. Who are you rooting for on in a couple Sundays? You rooting for KC?
Well, I'm rooting for KC. I mean, as much as I want Saquon to get a ring, I really cannot deal with the kids at my school flexing the Super Bowl on me. I mean, they'd still be 2-3 compared to us being 4-1, but I just wouldn't be able to handle it,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as Broncos fans, we're kind of rooting for Philadelphia, but honestly, we're not really rooting for anybody. We just want a meteor to hit the stadium and
exactly
start spring training, man.
Exactly.
That's great, man. Another question. So what is the most annoying fan base in baseball? Besides, I know a lot of people say the Yankees or the Dodgers, and you can say Dodgers, but because the Dodgers are pretty easy. But do you have
It's the Cubs, dude.
What's the most annoying fan base in MLB?
All right. Well, if I'm being objectively correct, it is us. It is the New York Yankees. We are the most annoying. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. But if I had to pick someone that's not like a generic fan base you'd think of, someone who really annoys me is Angels fans. And that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But especially when they had Trout and Ohtani, I understand your team doesn't want to win, but the amount of toxicity that came from that thing, they were like, oh, if, imagine we had your pitching staff and Trout and Ohtani, we win the World Series 3 consecutive years. No, you wouldn't. Just stop talking. You're hitting Matt Tyson your lineup. You're not winning anything. I'm sorry, you're not.
Nice.
2 players.
That's one of the smaller picks I have. Also, Minnesota. I just don't like them.
I can agree. I take it from a White Sox fan here; they can be annoying too.
Yeah, especially because we kill them in the playoffs every year. They snap at us a lot. So
Kind of a Red Sox reference here, but for the Yankees, the Twins are their daddy.
oh my gosh, we own them. We own them. Ever since
the
Aaron
Twins-
Hicks had that diving catch in center field, it's been all dubs for us.
Yeah.
And a funny fact also, before that, Hicks was a Twin.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean, it's so fun. Like these Yankees have so many guys that face their former teams and just go ballistic, and it's so fun to watch every time.
And unfortunately, Yankees fans had to suffer that a little bit when he went to the Orioles. So
actually, I would probably say Minnesota is my number one uncommon, most annoying fan base. LA is bad, but I would say Minnesota is worse.
What are your thoughts on those two guys that getting banned from Yankee Stadium after the game? What game was that? Game 3, game 4?
I don't remember, if I'm being honest with you. I don't
Game
remember.
3. It was game 3.
It was a very interesting scenario because that was actually the only game I did not watch live. So I didn't know what happened until I checked Instagram. And I saw that and I was like, first off, you guys are stupid. I don't understand why you would do that.
Yeah.
Bartman's one thing. Bartman was unintentional. He was just, trying to have fun at a ballpark. You can't just go and grab Mookie's glove. So my first reaction was, you guys are stupid and deserve whatever comes to you. Do I think the punishment was a bit overkill? Maybe. But do I think they deserved it? 100%. Because there is no reason why you should ever do it.
I mean, you could have broken his hand.
Exactly.
Out for the year for the following season. It's just, and for one of the top players in baseball. And, And I don't appreciate how we're not going to disclose the name of the company or the people that I was watching the game. I was watching it live. And these are, let's admit, these are New Yorkers. They have their own company, but they were laughing at the scene. I'm like, this is nothing to laugh about. Yeah, it might seem a little bit funny, but this is a case to where he could have gotten injured. And I mean, it's against the Dodgers. You're rooting against them, but still, it's kind of a serious situation where he could have gotten hurt. And it just, don't be stupid.
Yeah, I don't remember his exact quote, but I think Mookie took it very well. I know he talked to the press about it. I don't remember what the quote was, but he was very, just like whatever about it. And I would have, if that was me and this was the World Series, I would have snapped on him. But he kept it very calm, and I totally respect Mookie for that. I love Mookie Betts, despite the fact he's a Red Sox and a Dodger. I always have. He's just one of those guys who you can respect him because he knows how to play ball and he knows how to handle himself.
That's the kind of guy actually he is. He's because I'm married into a Red Sox family, so
gotcha.
The one thing about Mookie they say about Mookie is he understands how to control himself. In the moment, I'm sure he was upset because again, the guy literally grabbed his hand and was trying to pry his glove open.
Ridiculous.
Pull the ball. Think of it that Mookie's hanging off the side of the wall. He could have hyperextended his elbow.
100%.
And then that's the thing. And then those guys try to play. Oh, it was foul. Look, the guy was saying it was foul. It doesn't matter. He caught the ball.
Exactly.
Trying to slap it. Even if you pry it out, it's not like in football where the catch is negated because you pulled the ball out. The whole thing was just so stupid. And
it made no sense in any way, shape, or form at all.
And again, coming guy in Chicago, Bartman was just trying to catch it. It was completely unintentional, whereas those guys actually tried to pull the ball out of his glove. So it's completely different. But
exactly.
Again, it is what it is. But one quick thing, I'm not sure if you watched our episode. I predicted the Yankees to win in 5, so I got the number of games right, but the wrong team. So,
I mean, that would have been nice. I would have loved another, banner on my wall. And unfortunately, I do not have it.
Real quick. Last thing I'll say about it is I thought the Yankees pitching staff, if they could neutralize the Dodgers offense, that would have been their best chance.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that we would just outlast them because they had so many injuries. I thought we could just outlast them based on, healthy guys alone. Clearly did not happen, especially because I thought Freddie Freeman was going to be, kind of MIA because he was dealing with, I don't remember, was it a thumb injury, I think?
Ankle.
Yeah. Was it ankle? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was dealing with something. And I thought he wasn't going to be 100%, but of course, he comes out, has one of the greatest World Series of all time.
Yeah. So I'm the guy out of these three who is kind of a Yankee supporter in the closet, but because I'm a Rockies fan, but I also love the Seattle Mariners. Don't tell anybody. And Mariners fans are not supposed to like the Yankees. So if any of them saw this, they would be very upset. But my mom is a Yankees fan, and she became ill a couple of years ago, and it kind of changed her life. And so she just started watching the Yankees during COVID. And she's like, yeah, I love the Yankees, love the Yankees. And this is a woman that despised the Yankees when I was younger. So it's been cool to watch that. And now I just kind of find myself rooting for the Yankees. And I find myself rooting for a Nolan Arenado trade to the Yankees because I think that would be cool. And I'd love to see it.
That'd be fun.
Yes.
That would be fun.
But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that specifically. But I just want to know what the feeling within the fan base is after losing Soto, but adding the players that you have, Williams, Goldschmidt, and Fried. Do you guys feel like you're just as good and ready to make a World Series run? I personally do. I think you're a better team when you're not paying one guy that much money and not being able to add around Judge. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that, man.
You know what's funny? Because the first, say, 2 weeks after Soto signed, everyone was losing their minds. They were like, what are we going to do? We're going to fall apart. We're going to go 0-162 and it's over. And then, we actually started looking at the stats and we're like, yeah, Soto's a great ball player, but he's a 285 career hitter. And you look at the stats and he's not, he's no Judge. He's no Ohtani. Still a great ball player. But when you can inquire Williams and Fried and Bellinger and all those guys instead, I think it's much better to build a consistent team than it is to just bank on Soto repeating what he did last year, because last year was his best year by WAR and it was not relatively close. So I would not be willing to bank on that. And I think actually evening the team out is so much better. And slowly the fan base is starting to adapt to the idea that, yeah, maybe getting a bullpen guy and a starter and some hitters is a better idea than just paying to make a couple Twin Towers in the outfield.
Yeah, for sure. I hope you guys go get Nolan and add even more.
I would love that. I would love
team.
That.
I think he would rejuvenate his, and I think he had a little bit of a down year last year. His metrics, especially on Baseball Savant, don't look very good, but I think he would fit tremendously on that team for sure. So I'm rooting for you guys.
Goldschmidt's here. I'm just saying.
Right? Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah. Yes, and actually Juan Soto, again, I'm looking on Baseball Reference right now. Juan Soto's OBP in his career, 421. And
which is ridiculous.
He can get on base. He can get on base. And it doesn't matter if it's a double, single, or walk. He likes to walk a lot. So that's a successful hitter, right? That's what you want.
Oh, 100%. But for $765 million, that's a lot of money.
Nobody's worth that. Nobody. Those contracts don't age well, man.
And that's why we talk about, especially with the Rockies podcast, because we play the Padres so much. That's why we talk so negatively about what the Padres are doing. Like Machado,
the Padres are done.
Bogarts. Yeah, it's just I don't understand what's going on, and I think they're in danger of really collapsing. I really do believe that.
You know what's crazy about the Padres?
Yeah.
I saw that. So this offseason, they've lost Tanner Scott. They've lost Ha-Seong Kim. And they've lost a couple other guys too. You want to know who's the only guy they've gotten? Elias Diaz. He's the one guy. The one guy. That's it. They've gotten no one else. They are falling apart in front of our eyes. It's ridiculous.
Before they signed Elias Diaz, they had spent $0 in free agency. Zero.
We know what that's about, don't we?
It's crazy.
Well, the problem is it's the ownership change with Peter Seidler dead, and of course it's a whole group now that's because the brothers and Peter Seidler's late wife are debating over control and everything like that.
It's a mess.
It's a complete mess. But with Seidler, he was all in, and so now AJ probably just hands are tied, saying, "Oh, what can I do? What am I not allowed to do? What am I allowed to do?" It's just it's a chaos thing. So, but The difference, of course, also, even though the Padres are the only pro sports team in that town, their revenue streams are still going to be pretty restrictive because also they don't have they're one of the few teams that are not only broadcasted by MLB for the broadcasters. They don't have their own TV deals. So, but, we'll see about that. But let me real quick back to the Nolan thing. If Nolan Arenado did play third for the Yankees, who would you want playing second, LeMahieu or Chisholm?
Oh, boy. You know what's crazy? I think we could flip-flop them. I really don't think we would have to stick with one of them because I still believe in LeMahieu. I think if LeMahieu can somehow come back he could really solidify, this World Series chance again for us. But I would not be opposed to, letting them both play ball, especially because, Chisholm is a lefty and LeMahieu is a righty. So I think we could definitely, use them as a, you match up against this guy, you match up against this guy. But overall, I would probably say Chisholm just because, he's been better more recent. But I would not be opposed to using them both depending on the situation.
Well, LeMahieu, I think, is still, even though he's had the injury troubles, I still think he's a better defender. So you put Arenado. So then it'd be funny. You have 4 guys in the infield that at one point in their careers won at least one Gold Glove.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this infield, there's so much potential because we still have Waldo as well as Waldo Cabrera, and he's not going to jump off the stat sheet at you, but he's a guy who you can throw into pretty much any spot on the field, and he can give you solid defense and a slightly below average bat. But those are the guys that you need on those championship winning teams.
And don't sleep on Jason Dominguez either.
Love him.
He was so good. When he hit his first homer off Justin Verlander, I was like, this kid's the future. And then, boom, he is injured. Bye-bye. But now that he's back, I think he has all the potential in the world. I mean, they called him the mini Mickey Mantle for a reason. I mean, you don't throw that title around. I mean, he has all the potential. And plus, he's a switch bat. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
When do you think we'll see Jones?
Spencer Jones?
Yeah.
I think we should trade him.
Okay.
I will say it. I think he's a good ball player. I do not think he will ever be a great ball player. I watched him play this year, and it was really, honestly, underwhelming.
Okay.
The guy who I think we should really invest in our system right now is what's his name? Crap, I'm already forgetting his name.
Pitcher or position?
George Lombard.
Oh, okay.
George Lombard. Yeah, we took him in 2023 in the first round. He played pretty solid in 2023. He had an 822 OPS in the minors, I think, on a above 300 batting average. But Spencer Jones is good, but with so many outfielders with Judge and, all those guys, I think we have so many outfielders, we don't know what to do with them. We need a guy like Lombard to come in and solidify the infield before we can do anything else.
Yeah, for sure. I think across the league, everyone's still pretty high on Jones. So his trade value is probably really high still.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying we should undervalue him to get rid of him. I'm not saying that at all. I would love to keep him, but I think that if push comes to shove, I would rather let him go than Dominguez or Lombard.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the Yankees do with him for sure. He's got a lot to live up to. People compare him to Judge, from the other side, and it's like, I don't think that's fair, man.
We'll see. But I have high hopes for Dominguez, high hopes for Lombard, and I do have high hopes for Jones. But if any of them is going to be expendable, it's going to be him.
Yeah, I really like your young catcher, Ben Rice. I really like him. He is. I think he's your future. I feel like. I mean, I know you already have that young catcher that you have already, but
I like Wells a lot.
I do like Wells a lot.
Yeah, is Ben Rice? Do you think Ben Rice will be more of like a backup, or do you think he could be a future starting catcher in the next number of years if Austin Wells gets traded or if he's injured or whatever? But what are your thoughts on Ben Rice, man?
Well, the thing about Rice is he did not play a single game at catcher this previous year. He played all games at first base when Rizzo was out. So he has that versatility. Do I ever think he'll be a starter? I will be honest. No, I do not. But do I think he'll be a capable backup? 100%. I would much rather have Wells behind the plate than Rice. But if we're going to use him as a backup catcher or a backup first baseman in the case of a freak injury, I would be more than down for that. He's not a bad ball player, but I would not say he's a guy that's going to push us over the hump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Michael Toglia a little bit. I mean, Michael Toglia was, he came up through the Rockies farm system as the Rockies one of the top, prospects, and we thought, hey, this guy's going to be a superstar for us, and we're still finding out about him a little bit, but Toglia, he's going to be a serviceable first baseman. The only issue for us is that he strikes out quite a bit. Now it did come down this past year. But the power is there absolutely, and I think right now you'd rather have him playing at first base over Chris Bryant any day whatsoever. And plus, Bryant can't stay healthy, so why not? But yeah, I saw some similarities with Ben Rice and Toglia, and I don't know why. When I saw Ben Rice coming out through Somerset and through your farm system, I was like, this guy could be a really good player. And again, he's still young, and I would agree with you is that he's not going to light the world on fire. He's not going to win an MVP, and maybe not be an all-star type of guy, but he's going to be a decent ball player. And so yeah, he's one of the guys I'm looking at moving forward for the Yankees. I think I'm trying to think of any other guys that I really. Of course, I like Wells, but I don't know. I thought the trade for Chisholm was. I mean, it was circulating for a while because I know even
Yeah.
going back to the previous year, Chisholm was rumored. But yeah, like, what are your thoughts on Chisholm heading into the next season now in 2025? And then we'll have a couple more questions as we wrap the show up.
Sweet. Love it. Yeah, I met Chisholm at spring training when he was still with Miami. The same day I actually met Don Mattingly back when he was still with them. But
that's cool.
Chisholm, he's a great guy. And when I was talking with him, I could tell, he's a guy that you want to be around in the locker room. He's that might not be what you think when you see, what some of his old teammates were saying and all that, but he's a good guy and an even better ball player. Do I think he is, of course, like a Judge level or a like MVP Bellinger level? No. But my first game where I watched him live with the Yankees was that game in Philadelphia. I was able to drive up to CBP, and I think he had 3 homers in that game. And I was in the stands with my friend, and I was like, look at this guy. What a move to get him. And I mean, through the playoffs, he really didn't live up to where I wanted him to be. But I am still happy he's on this team. I think there's so much potential there to use him as, that platoon second baseman. And I really am super excited to see what this year holds for him. I think he could rebound pretty heavily from his playoff performance and be a pretty solid factor in the lineup.
Well, and if Bellinger, gets hurt, you guys have an option to put there in center field if you.
100%, 100% we do.
And you can't count on him all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy because I actually bought a Cubs Bellinger jersey last year in my trip to Wrigley because I loved him. And I was like, I love Bellinger, but the trade rumors are gone, so that's not happening. And then, whoop-de-doo, now I have a Cubs Bellinger jersey. I don't know what to do with that, but now I have it.
I get that feeling.
Now there's a Yankees-Dodgers connection because Cody's now played for the Dodgers and now he's the Yankees.
Yeah.
And of course, his father played for the Yankees. So
yeah. Back to your Ben Rice point for a second. I was thinking of like a guy I would compare him to in terms of what I think his impact will be, and I'm thinking like a Lonnie Chisenhall. Like I think Ben Rice will have that type of career impact, not a guy that stands out, but a guy that, can get meaningful hits if he needs to and, be a solid bench bat. That was just like a guy I wanted to shout out because I love Lonnie Chisenhall.
Yeah. That's a good name. I feel like that's an underrated name, honestly.
I love everyone on that 2016 Indians team, like Geyer, Chisenhall, and Tyler Naquin. That
should be a movie because, again, people forget how stacked that lineup was and how they honestly should have won the World Series. And there's a debate, there's controversy about that rain delay in Game 7. And Cleveland had momentum on their side because Ryan Davis hit that home run against Aroldis Chapman. I remember that. It was just so crazy. I was rooting for the Cubs because of the drought, but man, gosh, that was such a good World Series.
Man. I will forever love that World Series. That will be my favorite World Series ever. Man. The Yankees can win a World Series, and it will still not top 2016 to me. I will just tell you right now.
When you mentioned about getting Bellinger's Cubs jersey, that year, right after the Cubs won the World Series, I went to our Lids locker room here in Loveland, Colorado, and I bought a Chris Bryant t-shirt. And I was like, hey, I love Chris Bryant. It would be so fun if he was a Rocky, and
now he is, and now you wish he wasn't.
I brought him over here.
It's your fault, man. It is your fault. You take that one on the chin.
Yeah, but it's just like, dude, that World Series was crazy. But so I think we're gonna do some predictions to wrap up this show. But one of the things, and he's on the thumbnail picture of today's show. Aaron Judge. So we're going to play pretend here. All right. So imagine if Aaron Judge, was a Colorado Rocky. And I know a lot of Rockies fans have always dreamt this. And, maybe one day in our own little universe, or in an alternate universe somewhere in the galaxy, there is a era where Aaron Judge is a Colorado Rocky. And so I did some numbers and I used help of Grok on X a little bit. So I asked Grok a little bit some questions on averages, and it came up with some answers, and it was very intriguing. I made sure that these answers were legit, not like incorrect. So if I pull this up here, um, these numbers are pretty insane. I mean, you average Aaron Judge. He's a good hitter. He had some years where he was injured and numbers maybe weren't that great.
Yeah.
But you look at his best year, which was in 2022, where he had 62 homers, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, 62.
And I did on average if he, but also I put in other seasons as well. So 62 home runs, is a lot, right? Well, if you go into Coors Field, if you factor in Coors Field because of Coors Field, right? Everyone knows about Coors Field. You would have about roughly a 20% increase in offensive numbers, roughly. And this is with different bats, and I actually added some bats in there that they use in baseball, real bats. You know how many home runs Aaron Judge could potentially, realistically, according to a bunch of either Grok, but also other stuff I calculated. The nearest round number that Judge would be able to hit home runs in Coors Field in 162 games is 74 home runs and 158 RBIs in one
Man,
season at
that's
Coors Field.
ridiculous.
Those hanging
Just
sliders
imagine.
would never be missed.
Just
Never.
imagine.
Yeah, dude, and with right, like that dude would match, and that's why he would be the perfect Rocky of all time. I don't care. Whenever the rapture happens, he would be the best player ever in Rockies history, better than Todd Helton. I love Todd Helton, but dude, like imagine, just imagine if Aaron Judge was a Rocky.
Wow,
It's
that's
insane.
crazy. That is
Yeah.
ridiculous. I love Coors Field. Like every single game, like when I play MLB The Show, I make sure every game is against the Rockies in Coors Field because I just like mashing.
Yeah. Well,
You got to come out this year, Jack. They're coming to Denver,
Coming to
man.
Coors Field, yeah.
Catch a game with us.
Go all the way to Colorado, maybe.
Well, we were able to win a series against you guys a couple years ago when Alan Trejo got that walk-off home run against you
Oh,
guys.
I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
being in the car watching it on the MLB app and sitting in the back seat and just saying, "Damn,
Losing to the Rockies. Come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at some of the other numbers here, just for fun. So you're looking at at Coors Field, you're looking at a 468 on base percentage. You're looking at a potentially upwards to 700 to 823 slugging percentage at Coors Field. Like this is legit. And yeah, so again, 131 RBIs to 152 RBIs at Coors Field. It's crazy. The numbers that he could put up at Coors Field. Now, again, injuries, altitude, that could play a factor because again, altitude, man, it kind of kills your body once you come to Colorado.
oh, it
And
definitely does."
that's why I'm very I'm not blaming all the injuries on Brian because of Coors Field, but even the players say that hey, once they come back to Coors Field, their body is just like it's sore all over. It takes several days, even weeks to recover, man, and especially after coming off of or if they're going on a road trip or vice versa, their body is just not the same, and so that would be put into question too. But still, like just imagine, man, it would
Just
be
imagine what happened to Tulo.
yeah.
If not for the wear and tear, oh my goodness, he could have been.
The
He
dude
could have
was
been a
on
Hall
a
of Famer, no doubt.
Yeah.
100%, dude. No question.
I was talking about Nightingale with the same thing with Pedroia and Tulowitzki, and if they didn't get injured, would they be Hall of Famers? And he said, "I don't know, but I sure hope they would have."
Yeah, I think Tulo got some votes. In this
Yeah.
in the just this past draft, not draft, but the Hall of Fame voting. Cargo, I think, got one vote, which I was kind of surprised. But Cargo's a Hall of very good player. Same
He
with
is.
Matt
Doesn't
Holliday,
have the longevity. He doesn't have the longevity,
longevity,
unfortunately.
and he didn't have he had the snazziness. It just wasn't maybe the numbers. He only had he was an MVP candidate in 2010, I think. He was kind of up there in the MVP voting. That was his best year by far. But yeah, dude, like Tulo, he was on that trajectory. And now as Rockies fans, we're kind of looking at this and saying, well, who's the next Rockies Hall of Famer? And it's going to be decades before the next guy, maybe even more before the next Rocky. I mean, Arenado, we'll see. I really, however, don't expect him to go in the Hall of Famer as a Rocky. I think it's more going to be either St. Louis or Yankees,
Really?
Dodgers. I don't see it personally. I feel like
he has to.
I feel like when he left Colorado, there was bad blood. There was
Yeah,
bad
but
blood.
Bridich ain't here no more, man.
Yeah, and so it just with Bridich burned that entire bridge, and I just feel like Arenado was just like I'm done. And so that's just what sucks. And so I'm just feeling like honestly, I feel like that dog right now. I'm upset. And so I don't know. It's just a horrible situation with what happened to Arenado. But with Tulo, it's unfortunate with his injuries, and I just it's unfortunate because again, you look at Tulo 2006 when he came up, and 2007 he was a Rookie of the Year candidate. I think just Dustin Pedroia won it that year, correct? Or no, Ryan Braun won it in 2007 for Milwaukee. But yeah, man, Tulo, those early years of Tulo, they will never be forgotten, man. They were so good.
I don't see a world where Arenado doesn't go in as a Rocky. I'm sorry. I don't see a world where it doesn't happen. He had like 40-something WAR with you guys, 200 homers, like a career, probably almost close to 300 batting average. There's no way he wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree with you, Jack.
You will. I will say this though: he has more postseason wins as a Rocky than he does as a St. Louis Cardinal. And here
Yikes!
I'm just gonna show out there for Cardinals fans,
man.
And here's the thing: like I am so. I know we're like going off it a little bit here, but I just don't understand why the St. Louis Cardinals have not moved on from him. It does not make sense.
Nobody wants that contract.
Exactly. And the Rockies, they're fortunately we won't have to worry about that contract in the next year or two, but it's just like the Cardinals, kind of like the Padres, they're shooting themselves in the foot. Their future is very unknown. I just don't like where the Cardinals are right now. And Arenado, man, I really don't think again, maybe I'll change my answer here to maybe he will, go into the Hall of Fame as a Rocky. But I don't know. It's hard to say. Could he have another big rebound year? He could, but still offensively and with injuries, he's been suffering over the last couple of years. 2023, he didn't play the entire season. He was out for a quite portion of it at the end there. Not only that, but he didn't win a Gold Glove. I don't believe he won the Gold Glove this past year. I think did it go to Key Brian Hayes or was it the year before?
He hasn't won the last 2 years.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I might change my answer. You know what? Maybe I will say that he'll go in the Hall of Fame as a Rocky. Who knows? Because honestly, it's just St. Louis hasn't worked out, and I don't think it will work out because I like the Padres. The Cardinals have barely done anything this offseason. So it's just I don't know if there's a lot to.
They're going young. They want to trade him. They just can't find somebody to take that contract right now with the lack of production from last year.
That whole Cardinal situation was just an experiment, and it did not work with Nato, Goldschmidt, and the retirements of Wainwright and Yachty and Pujols. Yeah. They tried to do something, and it could not have failed more.
Yeah.
Not to mention, also you have to find the right situation to get Arenado to waive his no trade clause.
Exactly. Exactly.
That too.
All right.
Should have taken that Houston trade, but
yeah. Alrighty, so I think to wrap this up, Jack, again, thank you so much for coming on in. I think we're going to do some final predictions. So, Adam, why don't you head on into our final segment about some predictions for next year, or I should say this upcoming year.
You want me to predict the Yankees?
Yeah, let's do that.
They're going back to the World Series. Cody Bellinger at that stadium, if he's healthy, dude, they'll be like, Juan who? I mean, he has all the potential in the world to do a lot of damage behind Aaron Judge. And then you've got Devin Williams, who was completely untouchable until that one postseason at bat against Pete Alonso. I think the Tigers and the Royals are nice little upstart teams. I think Houston's going to be there because they always are. But the Yankees,
dude, they did move Kyle Tucker. They did move Kyle Tucker.
They did move.
That's a big offensive force.
But I think they'll be fine with Walker and they're the Astros. And I'm used to them torturing me, so I don't have a lot of hope there. But I don't see anything less than another World Series appearance for the Yankees, and they'll see the Rockies there. I'm kidding, but yeah, the Yankees will definitely be in the World Series, in my opinion, for sure, as long as they're healthy.
When it comes to my ideas on Colorado, I mean, I think this is specifically the year? No. But do I think that the year could be in even as soon as 2 years? Yes, I do. I think some guys who could be on this team for the long run, I think it's definitely McMahon, definitely Tovar, Nolan, and Doyle. Those are 4 guys I think you guys can lock down and use in 2 years when you guys get Charlie Condon up and Zach Veen up and Fernandez and Romo. I mean, when you get these prospects up, I think there's all the potential in the world for there to be a run. Do I think this year is that year? No. Do I think it will be another 5th place finish in the NL West? Maybe not.
Oh,
Like, crazy enough, with all they've lost, it wouldn't surprise me if San Diego is down there with you. But again, this is not the year. I will be the first to say that.
Yeah.
But do I think there's a potential for it to be a 4th place finish? Yes, I do.
baby steps. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah.
I love
put it
Brent
there, San
Doyle.
Francisco. I would put there San Francisco as well. I honestly,
They're not good, dude. I don't think they're good.
they make these moves. It's just like, oh, that's a nice move. And then you think about, okay, why did they make that signing with Justin Verlander, who is a dinosaur at this point? And I don't think he's going to have a great year. I mean, I could be wrong, but
He's done.
Exactly. He's done. Like the best years of his career are over. It was just more of just news, just to put on the newspapers. And I really don't understand that. They do have a nice, solid bullpen, one of the best bullpens, I think, in the National League. But there's no offense there, in my opinion. I feel like there's just not a lot of
Steven. No direction.
Yeah, there's no direction. There's just there's a few good prospects, but the thing is, they've either traded their prospects away or either they're just not giving them playing time. And I love Luciano, but I don't know if he's going to be playing or starting on opening day roster. That's the issue. So I agree with you. I think realistically, and again, we'll talk about it. All three of us guys will talk about it on our preview podcast in a few weeks. But I realistically think that the Rockies could have a chance of being a 4th place team this year. And I know a lot of Rockies fans want a higher ceiling, like 3rd or 2nd place or something like that. But 4th place, that's an absolute win in a rebuild year. And I think just take baby steps, as we were saying tonight. So that's something that we can look forward to. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. And again, we're going to be looking for the Yankees and seeing what they do. And personally, for me, if the Dodgers go back, I just want the Yankees to win, please. Please, Yankees, just get us
I can hope. I can only hope.
Yeah, because what the Dodgers are doing, again, it's like, really,
it's not baseball. It's not baseball. It's not. I'm sorry.
It's stupid.
They cut Ryan Brazier today, who had a sub-2 ERA for them last year. Are you kidding me?
We'll take him.
Mariners.
No, do not. I love Seattle. They do not need more bullpen help. You guys do. Please try to get him. Please.
They don't need more pitching help in general.
Not at all. Not at all.
Hey,
their pitching's fine.
Hey,
Matt
Brash may or may not come back healthy. So just let me dream. We can't have offense. Just let us have all the pitching.
Well, anyway, Jack, thank you so much, man, for coming on. And it's been a pleasure for having you on our show. And we look forward to having you on next time, whenever we have you on, maybe sometime this year when we play against you guys at Coors Field, or either next off season, when we're getting ready for 2026. But Jack, again, thank you so much for coming on in. And if you want to, again, check him out, go follow him on Instagram at Playoff Push Podcast on Instagram. Great follow. Highly recommend. Also does incredible stuff over there. He's been able to talk with some really great people over there. So, Jack, awesome to have you on, man. And thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Jack. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. It was an honor being on the show. And I'm not going to say, anything specific, but I do have quite a few projects in the works right now. I am in talks with several 2024 All-Stars. So we will see if those come to fruition. I'm still waiting, but it's a project I love working on, and I'm so excited to continue it. And you guys are always more than welcome on this, my show, and it was really an honor being here, guys.
Hey, that's great.
Rooting for you, man. Thank you.
That's great. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for listening to tonight's episode of the Rockies Now podcast. And as always, go Rockies.